Carpe diem, my name is Ultranatic, and welcome back to another Total Drama review. This is where I, as a lover of animation and reality shows, look over the show that combined them together the best. Sorry that I don't sound enthused, but even though I have to, I really don't want to go over the next episode. The Sucky Outdoors. I guess to the episode's credit, this show, which is trying to evoke Survivor, actually has an episode centered around surviving. Okay, compared to actual Survivor contestants, these people might as well be staying at the Hilton. But it's good to see them acknowledge that they remember what Survivor was all about at the beginning. So, why am I not excited for this one?
What, you don't think I'm smart enough to find them?
Well, you're not exactly the best with, like, direction.
Yeah, I am.
Nuh-uh. Apparently, you're not.
I'm sure we'll figure it out as we go. Let's see why this episode deserves its title, The Sucky Outdoors. Emphasis on suck! So we open up with everyone around the bonfire being told the challenge. Cutting straight to the chase, as I see.
Campers, today's challenge will test your outdoor survival skills. I'm not gonna lie to you. Some of you may not come back alive.
Happiest words I've heard all day. Don't take this away from me. The rules are straightforward. Spend one night in the woods, and the first team back for breakfast is immune.
First team back for breakfast wins invincibility.
Whoever has a watch, just time it for 12:01 a.m. and then dash back to camp. I really hope I'm not the only person who thought of that obvious solution. Of course, no one decides to take that ingenious hack, and instead worry about Chris's warning for bears.
And watch out for bears. Lost a couple of interns in pre-production.
I had a little encounter with a bear once. Let's just say his head looks real nice up on my mantle.
Cut! Come on, writers, you know the criteria. Owen has to have at least one fart joke per sentence. Minimum. This is clearly a different character. What numbskulls wrote him as an exaggerated storyteller with great confidence and charisma, while still having a childlike innocence? Actually taking away the sarcasm, that sounds great. Yeah, Owen is a highlight character in this episode. He doesn't fart once, and gives this big story about how he and his grandfather hunt down a bear, only to obviously be proven a liar, but even then he also shows he can catch fish, showing his worth to his teammates.
We were out in the woods when we came upon the great beast. I am man! I bring fish! We took his blood and marked ourselves to honor him. Excuse me for living!
This guy is impressive! I'd love his character if he was more like this. You know, instead of charming.
Wouldn't it be funny if we made some bear sounds and then they came?
That would be so funny.
Oh, and Izzy's also a standout character. We've only gotten tiny glimpses of her in the past episodes, but here she's a wild and crazy talker, and says things that just put people on edge.
This one time, I saw a bear eating our garbage. He had old spaghetti noodles hanging from his big, huge teeth, and it looked like blood and guts. And we thought he was eating the neighbor's cat, Simba, but it turned out he was just lost for a week.
Jesus.
However, we then get this questionable bit of continuity.
Can I walk with you?
No.
Hey, if this is about that whole diary thing.
Well, that certainly wasn't a bonehead move reminding her of that. Actually, again, not being sarcastic, that wasn't a bonehead move in this instance. Why is Gwen still upset about that? I mean, yeah, her secrets are poured out to the entire world. That's going to scar people. Except
Sweet dreams, everyone.
you see, she just got closure. Not from Heather, obviously, who wants revenge from Gwen's revenge.
She is so the next one to leave. She dumped Harold's red ant farm into my bed.
But you did read her diary out loud to the entire world.
So?
I mean, you'd think a person who just had their most personal thoughts revealed by force would take it pretty light, wouldn't you? But if she had the confidence to pull that stunt on Heather, then why is she still distraught? Is it because she's worried that Trent didn't approve?
Hey, if this is about that whole diary thing.
I'm gonna assume he's fine since he doesn't distance himself from you once after the incident. Unless you think that being with Trent will look embarrassing to you?
Nice going, man. Fish looks awesome. This is a survival task. Hey, ease up on the guy.
Having a crush on Trent is like having a crush on one of these guys. Most girls would. What's to be ashamed of? Okay, we need to stop skipping ahead. And speaking of skipping ahead...
Sadie and I are BFFFLs.
Best female friends for life. We even got the chicken pox together. Oh my gosh, that was so fun.
And we get to the biggest reason why this episode gives me goosebumps, and that it makes my skin crawl. Katie and Sadie, the two most annoying characters of the first season. If I hadn't made that clear from the previous reviews.
This is just like when we were 7 and we lost our moms at the mall.
And the security guards had to page our moms and they were so mad.
Oh my gosh, take a pill.
I hate these two because not only are they horribly annoying, squealing, empty-headed valley girls who could get beaten by the actual labeled dumb blonde in a game show, but also because they are infuriatingly the same kind of annoying.
Sadie's the prettiest girl I know.
Aw, well you're the prettiest girl I know.
We are really pretty, aren't we?
These two are almost completely the same character. I guess you could argue that Sadie is a touch more awkward than Katie.
Oops.
But aside from that, they're an equally identical bubonic plague of cringe.
We have to be on the same team, Chris. Please! Please!
Can we?
It's times like this where I think that we should put these girls in the same line as the kids from Pink Floyd's The Wall. At least we know that has a happy ending. For me. Look, even the animators don't care about them, as they switch their voices up by accident.
We even got the chicken pox together. Oh my gosh, that was so fun. It was so nice to have someone to scratch all your little scabs.
I know, right?
Except I doubt it was an accident. It was a statement that it doesn't matter which voice goes on which frickin' irritating sack of helium.
Oh my gosh, take a pill. We're fine. Killer Bats, where are you?
And guess what? They encompass a third of the frickin' episode.
You're kidding, right?
No Megamind, I am not. You know how I said some of the previous eliminations have been forced? Well, this sort of is, but not completely. You see, they end up lost from their team and thus make it back to camp last, losing the challenge. So one of them going home makes sense. However, the reason why they get lost is truly forced. They lose track of their team because they found blueberries.
Sadie, look, blueberries.
I love blueberries.
Oh my gosh, me too.
What? Were there no butterflies for them to get distracted by? Oh, and for that matter, how in the underworld did the team lose them? They very loudly stated the presence of blueberries, which they could have used as food, and no one hears them. Heck, throughout the entire episode, no one even notices that the two are missing except Duncan.
Has anyone seen Tweedledum and Tweedleidiot?
No one bothered looking for them? Some teamwork you got there.
It's so hard to find good help these days.
To be fair, we do get this moment.
There's no food here.
It says we're supposed to find our own food. I still don't see it.
You know, I forgot that on top of being a dynamic, conflict-inducing Regina George's diva, Heather can be a really funny character too. Like after she said that she has to be reminded, oh yeah, the world isn't being handed to me on a silver platter.
Well, at least this will be a good week for my diet.
You don't know where we are, do you?
Yes.
Oh yeah, they cut back to these two camel farts endlessly. Oh, you'd wish we were talking about that.
Well, you're not exactly the best with, directions.
Yeah, I am.
Nuh-uh. Apparently, you're not.
Again, I hope they're your favorite characters. Otherwise, you'll probably get better company out of these lovely faces.
Okay, no, but it's so not my fault. Have you ever noticed that all trees look the same?
Wait a minute, why does Katie's voice sound familiar?
Oh, I can't believe you're bringing that up.
Heather said I couldn't date him.
It was totally in my blind spot.
It's probably already eaten Izzy.
They're the same voice actress? So why is Lindsay one of my favorite characters while Katie is half of my least favorite?
I'm so confused right now.
I think it's because despite being a Barbie character, they don't do many things with Lindsay that you could consider annoying. Heck, the most annoying thing I've seen with her is the repeated cheering in Dodge Brawl. Katie, as well as Sadie's dialogue, is mostly nothing but hearing two 10-year-old twins from the Bratz universe squabble or cheer.
That's it. When we get back to camp, we are so splitting up as BFFFL. I knew you thought that.
It's true. Everybody thinks so.
Fine. Double fine.
Also, all the other contestants are comedic parodies of reality show stereotypes. What is even the joke with these two? That they're the same character? Well, so are Tweedledee and Tweedledum. The difference is that either of those two individually would still be pretty funny. Either of these two, even separate, is still the vocal equivalent of pulling a nail out of your shoe. Can we please go back to something funny?
Yo, who ordered the pepperoni? Extra cheese.
It's for the camera crew. Over here.
No way.
That is some fantastic breaking the fourth wall. Well, okay, that's everywhere in the show, that's the point. But it's a scenario where breaking the fourth wall can be both commonplace and still funny. Owen then comes in with his fish, having been taught by his grandfather.
How do you know how to fish?
My grandpa taught me. I caught a shark once. It bit me in the butt.
Again, for people familiar with Survivor, remind you of anyone? Okay, for those of you who aren't familiar, he's Richard Hatch, the first ever winner of Survivor. He and Owen were both big, brawling men with a knack for providing for their team, and for walking around nude.
Yes! We get to stay! We get to stay!
I'd argue the only difference is that Richard was homosexual, except...
There are 2 syllables for hot. Just and 10. Man, that guy is just so hot I could kiss him! Because he's a good teammate!
Yeah, Owen might have eyes for Izzy in later episodes, but straight isn't the exact term I'd use to describe him either. Oh, and just like Richard Hatch, Owen apparently got bitten by a shark once.
I caught a shark once. It bit me in the butt. Check it out.
But rather than watch that fascinating bit of character, how about I show you the explanation for this blood coming from my eardrums?
Well, at least I know how to drive. You have to walk, girl. Now who's smarter?
Trip to the beach last year, ring a bell?
Oh, I can't believe you're bringing that up.
Can we just place both of your heads on the geese from duck hunting? The only funny moment is when these two squirrels mock them.
If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't even be on this show.
You're just saying that because I'm prettier than you are.
And that's it. Back to the Armageddon of the idiots.
We're going to die here. We're going to die here.
If that wonderful little fantasy was true, it wouldn't have just been a wonderful little fantasy back in the big sleep, would it? Meanwhile, at the Bass camp...
Wow, you pitch a tent like a guy.
Well, Jeff's going home then. As we've seen, even the most juvenile sexist comment, regardless of past success, equals goner.
Wow, you pitch a tent like a guy?
Well, at least he knows how bad that sounded, and is clearly regretful of it. Unlike Duncan, who intentionally calls Courtney woman just to mess with her.
What's for dinner, woman?
I hope you don't expect me to dignify that with a response.
Oh, and DJ has a bunny.
This is my new pet. I'm calling him Bunny.
Who gives a rat's hat?
We get more of Katie and Sadie being idiots, because I think the writers just learned the shortcut for copy and paste on their computers. And then see Owen tell his story of how he and his grandfather killed a bear. Via South Park style animation. Is that really how reality shows make flashbacks? Because I can't think of any.
I tell you, he was 10 feet high if he was a foot. We grabbed our shotgun, and then, bam! We took his blood and marked ourselves to honor him. It was a good death.
So after a pretty entertaining backstory...
Hey, has anyone seen Crazy Girl?
I think she...
Wait a minute! You're telling me that Izzy is yet another character to get lost in these woods. And yet Heather, the villain of the series, is the first person to notice this? That means that Heather might very well be the most sensitive and attentive person towards her teammates in the cast. I know that sounds ludicrous, but Katie and Sadie have been missing for hours and got one brush-off mention of being lost. And it was from Duncan, not Courtney or Bridget or DJ, some of the quote-unquote nicer people from Duncan. The two least compassionate people in the series are now by default the most caring. That is how poorly written a group the Killer Bass are in terms of teamwork.
Nice team spirit.
Anyway, the Gophers call for Izzy and unfortunately come across a bear.
We're all going to die!
Oh, and Cody pees his pants. What sick part of my brain is taking joy in that? Seriously, is something wrong with me?
This is when you know we're going to hell.
They all hide in the trees and we cut to the bass around the campfire, with Duncan offering a scary story to Bridget who's easily scared in the woods. So, typical camping stuff, what do you know? He gives the cliche killer with a hook story, which scares the team and gets Courtney close to Duncan. You know, I'll talk about them while I'm here. Duncan and Courtney's build-up to being a showman's is wonderful. They're both strong, polarizing personalities, which stem from good girl and bad boy, but my guess is they both like each other because they see the opposite traits in the other. Duncan sees a bad girl in Courtney, while Courtney is able to see the good in him. It's a much better Beauty and the Beast story than the live-action remake. Oh no, I said my opinion online, prepared it in a script, so I'm really gonna regret it. Back at the Gophers, the team get agitated when they find out Owen made the story up. What a shocker.
I was being theatrical!
Lashana falls out of the tree and trembles for her life, only for the bear to seem very friendly. Humanishly friendly.
Hey, are you okay?
Did that bear just ask me a question?
That still cracks me up. Oh, and Izzy was in the bear costume the whole time.
Oh my goodness, I did not see that coming!
How many stinking random outfits did these teens pack? How would Izzy even have fit that costume into her luggage? Did she buy some from the TARDIS? Back at the bass camp, Bridget needs to pee but is too scared to leave. So she doesn't just wake someone up to follow her and instead gets attacked by bats, which causes her to kick a single coal to burn down their tent. Isn't that sort of like if your house got completely flooded with the water from a kiddie pool? And then the Gophers get attacked by a real bear, but not before the boy who cried wolf cliche of thinking it's another fake.
It's probably Chris trying to mess with us. We know you're not a bear, dude.
Did that bear snout just boop?
We know you're not a bear, dude.
You can make the bear any less cute after that.
Yeah, that's a real bear.
Relax, kid. No need to get worked up, okay?
We then see Courtney berate Bridget for destroying their tent.
Now we have nowhere to sleep!
Relax, it's cool.
Things could not possibly get worse!
Could be raining.
Because of all this disaster, no one gets any sleep. Well, except for two people. Guess who?
Morning, sunshine.
Oh my gosh! You were cuddling me!
You were snuggling up to me.
Again, aren't these moments precious? You know, before they actually become a bickering, squabbling couple in later seasons? Well, at least it's better than Katie and Sadie, who eventually get back to camp. And despite the killer bass making it there first, they don't win because Katie and Sadie weren't present.
Thanks to you, we just lost the challenge!
Even when they're absent from them, they drag their team down. Do these two untrained seals have any use at all?
It seems that the killer bass are missing a few fish.
I do love it that when the killer bass are questioned about Katie and Sadie missing, they don't even care they probably died.
Oh, you mean Katie and Sadie? I'm pretty sure they got eaten by wolves last night.
Darn shame.
I'm on Duncan's side. Anyways, the twins make up, give a long recap, and then get scolded for losing the challenge for the killer bass. Which means, thankfully, half of my hit list gets scratched off. At the campfire ceremony, it comes down to Katie and Sadie being the last two. I guess they voted for each other. And it's revealed Katie's going home.
Why Katie? Why her?
Honestly, she'd probably be the more athletic of the two, but I couldn't care less.
I miss you already! I miss you more! No, I miss you more! No way! I totally miss you more!
Will you two shut up? So they cry goodbye, and we see an epilogue of Duncan apologizing to Courtney about scaring her earlier.
There is no such thing as a hook man.
You're probably right.
Or are you?
Haha, fake out.
I hate you!
She so doesn't hate me.
And then it just ends. Yep, just like that. Well, that was the Sucky Outdoors. Fitting name. Well, okay, maybe I'm being too harsh on it. The bass moments can be questionable, but decent at times. And the majority of the time with the Gophers is entertaining, especially with Owen and Izzy. But oh god, when the focus of most of the episode is just these wannabe cheetah girls walking through the woods, it makes me want to take a saw to my eardrums. But the challenge setup was decent and there were some creative moments, so I can't say I hate all of it, but I can definitely say I hate most of it. And I can definitively say that after watching Katie and Sadie for 20 plus minutes, things could not possibly get worse. Feel excuse me, I'm just gonna go wear my I'm with stupid t-shirt in public alone.
Ain't nothing like the great outdoors, ease your soul. Ain't nothing like the great outdoors.